Hello and welcome everyone, Meadows here, bringing you the next actually helpful tutorial. In the past, I've listed the raw materials required for each of my videos at the beginning, but based on some feedback I've gotten from you guys, I'm going to instead just leave a list of the materials in the video description below. So without further ado, let's look at the basics of beekeeping and forestry. To begin, you're going to need some bees and an apiary. It's easiest if you find a meadows and forest biome for this project. To collect your first bees, create a scoop and search around for some meadows and forest hives. These hives aren't limited to just meadows and forests specifically, and can be found in similar biomes. You can often find apiaries at villages, and sometimes trade emeralds for them, but you can also craft apiaries using a squeezer and Carpenter using seed oil or creosote oil to impregnate the casing. Once you have your bees in apiary, you need to place the apiary in a warm, normal biome such as plains or meadows, and you'll need a flower within 5 blocks. Remember that the bees must be outside and nothing can be directly covering them. When you right-click on the apiary, you'll see 2 slots to the left. The top slot is where you're going to place your princess, and the bottom slot is where you place a drone. When placed correctly, the drone and princess will combine together to form a queen. The 3 slots in the middle are for frames. There are 3 kinds of frames by default: untreated, impregnated, and proven. Proven frames last the longest but are harder to make, and I recommend starting off with the untreated frames for now. The 7 honeycomb slots on the right are for when your bees complete their cycle and yield their product. Our goal in this video is to create an Alveary, which requires royal jelly from Imperial Bees. To get there, you're going to need to breed various bees together. Starting out, cross together your forest and meadow bees so that your meadow princesses are always with forest drones and vice versa. You should eventually get some common bees. Crossing a common and meadows or forest bee can yield a cultivated bee. From there, crossing a common and cultivated bee will yield a noble bee, and crossing noble with cultivated will yield a majestic bee. Finally, a noble and majestic will yield an imperial bee, which has a chance of producing royal jelly that you'll need to make your Alveary. You'll quickly realize that when breeding these bees, you don't always get what you want. There are 2 ways to make this process faster and easier. The first method is to automate your apiaries and just brute force your luck until you get the bees that you want. Or you can use a forestry centrifuge to get honey from your honeycombs and place your bees on a Beealyzer. Holding your Beealyzer in hand and right-clicking will reveal a menu. On the top right, there's a slot for a stack of honey drops, and underneath it a question mark. Placing a bee inside the question mark will reveal various statistics about your bee and will tell you vital information on breeding them. The properties of your bees allow you to sort out the fastest and most fertile of your stock, and the latter method will require a lot more involvement. For now, you don't need to worry about all the stats of your bee, just pay attention to their lifespan, speed, and fertility. The most efficient bees are bees with a shorter lifespan, a fast speed, and a high fertility. Once you finally have a decent amount of royal jelly, you can create your Alveary. You'll need a total of 27 Alveary blocks, placed in a 3x3 cube and covered with wooden slabs. The Alveary is much faster than the basic apiary and adds a lot of functionality that I will cover in my next video. The strongest advantage is that it does not require frames to function. When creating your Alveary, just create a solid 3x3 cube and place 9 wooden frames on top. Make sure to use a vanilla wood to place on top of your Alveary, because certain mods don't interact with it very well. Once the structure is complete, wait a couple seconds for some holes to appear on the side. They don't always appear immediately, so don't freak out if you don't see them right away. So why go to all this trouble? Bees can offer a lot of resources for relatively little cost. I like to primarily use my bees for producing uranium to use in nuclear reactors later on, but they can create other stuff as well. Some species of bees require hot, cold, or humid biomes to work in a basic apiary, but an Alveary can mitigate this problem. Certain bees are more aggressive than others and will sting, poison, or kill you when you get in range while they are active. If your bees aren't working, remember that they'll only function in the correct biome, the right time of day, with the right kind of flower, and the proper weather. Also make sure that there is nothing above them. You can see here on the top right of this apiary that it is telling me I don't have a queen, but that it's still the proper temperature and humidity. If I go back over here to our functioning Alveary, it'll tell me on the top right that it just has a normal temperature and humidity, but that there's nothing wrong. If a problem crops up, you'll see a fourth tab on the top there telling you what's wrong. There are 3 forestry machines that you'll likely need to use during your process working with bees. The first is a Carpenter, and then a squeezer and a centrifuge. These machines do require power, but relatively little in order to function. One steam dynamo should be enough to do the trick. The Carpenter is useful for making your impregnated casing and other pieces for the Alveary. In order to make the impregnated casing, you'll need either seed oil or creosote oil. You can make seed oil with a squeezer by placing seeds on the left and a wax capsule on the right in order to create a seed oil capsule. You can take the seed oil capsules out and place them back into the Carpenter where it'll fill up on the right. As soon as it gets the oil, you should be able to see the impregnated casing crafting in the center. When it's complete, it'll appear in the small tab on the lower right. The last machine is the centrifuge, and you'll be using this to place your honeycombs inside and yield products. You place the honeycombs on the left, and after a couple seconds, you should see some beeswax and honey drops appear on the right. You might be wondering how you're supposed to make wax capsules without any bees beforehand. If you can't find any apiaries from a villager, and you must make your apiary using this method, remember that when using a scoop to find bees in the wild, they often yield honeycombs alongside them. You can place the honeycombs inside your centrifuge to yield wax before you've even used any bees. That's all on getting started with beekeeping and forestry. In my next video I'll go over more advanced beekeeping tricks and how to configure your Alveary for different additions. If you like this video, be sure to check out my others, and don't forget to rate and subscribe.